Hello, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Hip Kit Club. And I'm working with the October 2021 kits, and it's Cutfile Tuesday today, so I'm going to be using a couple of cut files from the October release. So I've got Boo, which I've cut here from black cardstock, and I've also cut a couple of the ghosts from the Mummy Bats and Ghosts set. I've cut those in white cardstock, and both of these cut files are up on the website already. And if you're a subscriber, you will have free access to both of these and loads more as well. So I've decided I'm going to go with a Halloween themed layout today. A lot of the October kits are kind of autumn themed, and I've used loads of the autumnal stuff, but I haven't yet used any of the Halloween stuff. So I felt like today was our day for Halloween, and I've got loads of photos of Halloween to still scrap, so it was perfect for me. And I've also got a design team prompt today to use punches on my layout. And I have to confess, I don't actually own a lot of punches. It's not something I use very often. I have a couple of circle ones in various sizes and a couple of star ones, and that's pretty much it. So I thought stars would go nicely with Halloween, so I'm going to use a couple of those on my layout today. So there's a pattern paper in the kit this month called Scully and Moulder, and I absolutely love it. It's kind of skulls and leaves on one side and this lovely kind of crosshatch grid pattern on the other, and I love both sides of it. So I'm going to use both on today's layout, and I was in the mood for a patterned paper background, but I wanted something subtle that wasn't going to kind of detract from my cut file and my layout. So I've cut a really thin border of the skull side of the paper, the A side. I've cut it 1/2 inch on each side, and I've trimmed my cardstock down by 1/4 inch on each side. So I've not got much of a margin here when it comes to getting this stuck down, but I didn't want to waste any of this cardstock, or this patterned paper, because I knew I wanted to use the middle section in the centre of my layout, and I do end up trimming it down a bit, so in hindsight I could have cut that border a little bit bigger, but I wasn't sure at the time how big I wanted the frame, whether I would use the whole sheet and cover that white cardstock, or just have a bit in the centre. And in the end I decided to cut it down slightly, just so that the patterns were even. You'll see on the kind of the grid design there, some are like double lines and some are triple, and I needed that to be symmetrical, otherwise it would have really bugged me. So I've trimmed it down so that kind of you can see there, either the, where are we? I'm turning it around. The left and the right have just got the double lines sort of near the edge, and the top and bottom have got the triple lines, if that kind of makes sense. So I've stuck that down with double-sided tape, and now I'm stitching around the outside edge of the entire white cardstock, the kind of background, just to make sure that's all secure and just for a bit of texture. And I'm also going to machine stitch down some of the grid lines on that patterned paper in the middle. So where you've got the triple lines, I'm going to machine stitch down the centre of all the lines. Kind of gives a grid design, but it just kind of emphasises some of those lines and gives them a bit more definition. They're not quite black on that patterned paper, it's kind of more of a charcoal colour. So I just wanted to give them a bit more definition, so that's why I've stitched over those, and it obviously brings a little bit of texture to the layout as well. So it's a win-win for me. You can't beat a bit of machine stitching on a layout, so I'm just taking some time to do that. There we go, by the power of editing I've finished. I'm just giving you a little close up there. I've pulled all of the threads to the back just to keep it nice and neat, and I've taped those down in place. And now with my cut file, I'm just going around the edge of the word boo with a white gel pen, kind of like a fine liner pen, just to give it a bit more emphasis so that it stands out. It was looking a bit sort of plain with nothing on it, so just drawn around the letters there with white. I do contemplate doing the smaller letters as well, but because they're quite narrow, I figured doing a line all the way around the edge, it just might look a little bit busy and messy, just where it's so narrow. So I've decided to leave it with just the word boo, the outline. Now the two bats on the cut file here, I'm going to heat emboss with black embossing powder. Just brings them a bit of texture and a little bit of shine. It just gives that cut file a little bit more interest. Had I have cut it on patterned paper, I probably wouldn't have bothered, but where it's just black cardstock, it's a bit dull, isn't it? So jazzing it up a little bit. and I've got an embossing pen, so I've just coloured that bat in with that and then poured the powder on so that it sticks, and then with my heat gun I've just gone over that to kind of set it, kind of melts the powder. If you've never used this stuff before, it's brilliant. It's really mesmerising to watch it kind of all melt and set. It's one of my favourite things to do, just to sit and watch heat embossing powder. So, and just getting those done, both of those are done. You can kind of see here, it just gives them nice shine and a bit of texture. And I'm going to have my cut file sitting at the bottom of my page there. I want to raise it up to bring some dimension onto the layout, so I'm just placing some craft foam behind each of the letters. I'm just going to do the big letters and the exclamation mark and the two bats. I'm not going to worry too much about the smaller words and letters. Just because the top part, that main part, is raised up on foam, they will naturally kind of sit off the background a little bit anyway, so I'm not going to worry about foam behind those. So you'll notice at the beginning of my video I had two photos on my desk. I had one in landscape and one in portrait, and I wasn't sure which I wanted to use, but I think the cut file, the area at the top kind of lends itself really well to a landscape photo, and I don't often scrap landscape photos, so I thought it'd be a nice opportunity to do something different. So I've gone with landscape. It's a photo of my little boy on Halloween during sort of the afternoon. We just decorated the front of our house and all of our porch area, and I went a bit mad this year because Halloween was a massive flop last year because of the UK being in lockdown and we weren't allowed to do anything or go anywhere. So I went all out this year, and it's just a photo of him sat on our doorstep with a big sign that says boo, which is obviously why I chose this cut file, so I thought it was perfect. So that's my photo. I've mounted it onto white and then black cardstock, just to help it pop a bit off of that background and to kind of tie it in with the black cut file. And I'm adding a couple of the Pocket Life cards behind that. I've picked out a couple that had orange tones on them. They are from the Pocket Life kit. And I've distressed all the edges of those as well. And now I'm going to come in and add some mixed media to my background. So I started off using a couple of the Catherine Pooler ink pads that we got in, I think it was the August colour kit. So the yellow is Limoncello, and then I'm going to come in with the pink, which is called Be Mine. And the aim is to kind of mix the two and end up with an orange colour. Much easier with kind of wet mixed media, isn't it? But yeah, a bit of a challenge, but I think I do achieve it in the end. I'm using a blending brush and I'm not adding any water, because I'm applying it to patterned paper as opposed to kind of thick cardstock, and I've got that stitching on it. I was a bit worried about adding water and getting it really wet, so I'm going in with dry mixed media to start, and just using a blending brush with these ink pads. So I'm going to do the yellow first, come in with the pink, and then I'm going to go back over again with the yellow, trying to achieve that orange colour, which I think by the end of it I do achieve, but I am going to add in some products from the October colour kit as well. So I'm just bringing my cut file back in just to check that I'm happy with the area and like the coverage. And now I'm using the Nouveau Mica Mist or Mica Mist, the spray that we got in the October colour kit. The colour is called Pecan Peach, and it's a lovely shimmery orange colour, and I really love how it comes out when you splatter it, just really shimmery. So I've just gone to town a bit with some splatters in that. I'm drying that with my heat gun. I'm drying both sides of the page in the hope that I can prevent some warping. And then I'm coming in with the Nouveau crystal drops here. This is Auburn Pearl, it's called, and it's a metallic drop, so it's almost like a gold colour. And I've just squeezed some lines out onto my page, and then I'm using a plastic palette knife or spatula type thing to kind of scrape it down the page. I did this in one of my other layouts as well, and I really love the effect it gives. And because that's metallic, it's got a little bit of kind of a shimmer to it, or shine as well. So when that's dry, that looks really pretty. And then I went to pull my cut file back in and realised that I'd forgotten to draw around the internal sections, so I'm just doing that quickly with that white gel pen again. And then me being me, I still want to add some more mixed media to my background. So I've pulled out the texture stamp that we got in the July colour kit, and I'm using that limoncello ink pad just to try and add a bit of sort of detail and depth to that mixed media area. It didn't show up as much as I was hoping it would, but you can kind of see it around the outside where the mixed media kind of fades out into that pattern paper. It's a bit more noticeable around the edges. So yeah, not as obvious as I was hoping, but I do love that it's given a subtle little bit of detail. And I love how orange I've managed to get this to look. I've achieved a lovely deep rich orange colour. I've used 4 different products and only kind of one of them was really an orange colour, so I'm quite impressed with how rich I've managed to get that looking. Now I want to add a bit of detail to my cute little ghosts. So I've pulled out the Nouveau Glimmer paste that was in the November 2020 colour kit. So it's a whole year old now, but it's absolutely fantastic stuff. It's so shimmery. So I've just used my finger and dabbed a tiny bit on those ghosts, and a tiny bit really does go a long way with that. And that's just going to add loads of sparkle to them, and they're really cute ghosts, so I think a bit of sparkle was needed. And I'm just drying that off with my heat gun. I'm going to add a little bit of black inking just around the outside edge, just with a black stamp pad and a little blending tool. I just felt like it needed a little bit of detail to distress the edges there and just make them look a little bit spookier. So just going to add that detail, and then I'm going to come in and get their little faces stuck on, and I've cut their faces from black cardstock so they will show up nicely, and I really do think these look adorable when they're finished. So there we go, there's my little ghosts finished, and they're going to sit on my page like so. And I'm just getting some areas raised up on foam pads so that they sit level with my photo and my cut file. So now the kind of main part of my layout is done. I've got my mixed media background in place, and I've got my cut files and my photo stuck down. I'm going to think about embellishing, and I wanted to add a few little bats to the top part of my layout, kind of look like they're flying around. And rather than fussy cut some bats or get my silhouette back out, I thought, oh, I know, I'll colour some from this pattern paper. So this pattern paper is called A Little Batty, and I think it's so cute. I love bats, but pink really didn't go with my sort of colour scheme today. So I've used the limoncello and Be Mine ink pads again and tried to colour some of them orange. And I've done a couple of the white ones, and I tried one of the pink ones as well with just the yellow ink pad, and I think that worked quite well. They've all come out nice and orange, and I'm just taking some time to cut those out, and I'm going to draw a black border around the edge just to give them a sort of a bit of definition so that they stand out on my background and don't get lost. So that's my bats done. I'm now going to go through the October kits and see what else I can pull out that would work with my Halloween theme. So this is the die cut pack from the Pocket Life kit. I've pulled out a couple of tags. One of them's a little bit on the pinker side of orange, but it's not too much, so it doesn't bother me. I know a couple of the die cuts I'm going to pull out have a little bit of pink on, so it would work well with those. And I've just layered those behind my photo with just the top sticking out, and I'll add some embroidery thread through those holes at the end because I really don't like leaving tags kind of naked. I like to finish them off with something threaded through the top. Now I'm going through the die cut pack. This is from the main kit, I think. I've just pulled out some Halloween bits from that. So I've got a little bit that says trick or treat there. I'm going to sit that in the middle of my two O's. I've got a couple of pumpkin clusters, the haunted house that's got a couple of little bats flying around it. So I thought that worked really well with my little fussy cut coloured bats. I tried to get this boo piece on from the chipboard stickers, but I just felt it was sort of one boo too many. I've got the Cutfile saying boo, there's a boo in my photo, and I just thought it was a bit much. So unfortunately that didn't make it, so I just have to make another Halloween layout. Any excuse. Now I'm looking at the clear stickers from the Pocket Life kit. I've pulled out a couple of Halloween phrases. So one says trick or treat and the other says boo to you. I've stuck them onto white cardstock and I'm cutting them out just so that they don't get lost on my background, and at the moment I'm not sure where I'm going to put them. These pumpkins I'm sticking down the bottom there and kind of making a little cluster. I end up taking these back off at the end of the layout. I just felt it was a little bit too busy and too cluttered, and I felt like the bottom area just needed to be kind of empty and let that mixed media show. So I do end up removing those pumpkins at the end, but you'll see them on there for now. I've got a little October 31st die cut there I've stuck over to the right. That works well because this photo was actually taken on Halloween. I've got those two stickers stuck over by my ghost, and I've got my haunted house and pumpkin over on the left. There's that really cute little witch's hat in the die cut pack, and it fit perfectly on my small ghost, so I've stuck that on my ghost's head, which I thought was really cute. And at this point I've decided I need a bit of mixed media up the top behind those photos. It just looked like it needed to be extended. And I remembered we had these gorgeous clear mixed media stickers in the embellishment kit this month, and they are really beautiful. I love these. And there's loads of orange ones on there, so they worked really well. So I've added a couple of those up to the top, and they've just done the job perfectly. Now I'm coming in with my punch. This was my DT prompt today to use something punched on my layout. I had intended to use my larger star punch, but the layouts ended up a lot busier than I'd expected, and there's not a lot of room left on the page. So instead I've opted for my smaller one, and I've just cut a few there. I've drawn around the edges of them with the same white pen just to tie them in with my cut file, kind of keep it like a uniform look, if you like. And I just scatter, I think I do 6 in the end around the sort of edge of my layout there, and I love the way that just adds a little pop of black here and there on the page. And then I'm just going to finish off with some more splatters, because you can never have enough splatters. And I'm using the orange Mica Mist from the October colour kit, and I've added it to my cut file as well. Because it's shimmery, it sits really nicely on black cardstock and shows up. I know some mixed media products don't show up, but shimmery ones tend to show up really well. So I've added some of that to my cut file as well. And then I'm just threading that orange embroidery thread through the top of my tags, and then that's me done. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this layout, and I hope it's offered some inspiration in using your October 2021 hip kit. I really love this kit. It's entirely exclusive products, and it's just beautiful, and I love it. I will leave some links in the description box below for you to the October kits and the hip kit group on Facebook. Obviously don't forget, if you're a subscriber, you get discounted rate on add-on kits, and you also get access to all of the subscriber cut files for free. So you get both of these ones for free if you are a subscriber. But thanks again for joining me. I'll leave you with the rest of the close-ups, and I'll see you next time.